My name is Pascal Hagman. I'm the founder and manager of a small association based in Geneva, Switzerland. Our name is Oceaneye. We are a scientific organization working exclusively on marine plastic pollution. And one of our goals is to provide data to scientists and international organizations concerning this microplastic pollution. So this will be the theme I will talk about. Of course, I will first introduce this topic, plastic in the oceans. After, I will talk about some related issues, such as plastic consumption, waste production, and waste management. I will give some examples concerning international projects addressing this pollution. And of course, I will talk about our program, how do we can help to monitor this pollution, and what are our ideas for a small organization like us what we can do to help on this topic. And at the end, there will be also some information where you can see microplastics, and at the end there will be the questions and answers. So I will start with maybe really basic information about the oceans, but I think it's important to tell them again. Of course, the oceans is a huge resource on which we depend. Okay, I will just remove the mask. It will be better, maybe. It is 70% of the surface of the Earth. 80% of all the biomass on the Earth is in the oceans. So it is the first producer of atmospheric oxygen. So you can imagine how we really depend on this resource. But it is also a mystery. For example, we suppose that we know only 10% of all marine species that are in the oceans. It is also a real mystery where is all the plastic in the oceans. We will talk about this a bit later. And of course, it is an environment that is impacted by human activities. To give you a global view of the impact of the humans on the oceans, I propose here a map produced by a scientist. His name is Benjamin Halpern, and he tried to evaluate the global impacts of the humans in the oceans. So you see here the red regions are the regions highly impacted, and the blue regions are the regions with a lower impact. It took into account three major aspects. So, of course, global warming and all the side effects, such as ocean acidification, the effect of the fishing, and the pollution of various kinds, like nuclear pollution, acoustic pollution, micropollutants, and of course also microplastic that we will talk about more deeply later. So he obtains two main conclusions. Of course, no area is spared from this pollution from these impacts, because most of these phenomena are global. And based on this criteria, he supposed that more than 40% is highly impacted by human activities. So now let's have a look on plastic pollution. We, the humans, we produce objects, and of course, one part of these objects are lost at sea, and some are particularly a problem because they are pollutants. So pollutants are products that they generate an alteration of the ecosystems, and some of them are more problematic because they are resistant, such like some metals or the plastics. We estimate that the flow of plastic entering in the oceans is around 10 millions of tons per year, and that the global marine plastic pollution, so the stock of plastic that are in the oceans, is around 200 millions of tons. And when you study this pollution, you different compartments of the oceans. So first, of course, the coastlines. This is where we see the most waste, because we all live on the coastlines. One part of this plastic is at the sea surface, because some polymers float, like for example polypropylene or polyethylene. They have a density lower than seawater, so they float. One part is on the seabed. Some of the plastic, they sink. For example, the PET bottles, they sink. You have also a pollution in between these two compartments in the water column. You will find microplastic in the sediments, and of course in the biota. All living organism is also a compartment of microplastic. What is quite impressive with this pollution is that you find plastic everywhere. If you look, for example, on this study published by FAM in 2014, he looked for macro waste on the seabed in different regions of the North Atlantic, and he found plastic in strong concentration in really regions that are oceanic desert. For example, he took a sample here in the middle of the ocean between France and the US, and he found concentrations that are quite impressive, between 0 to 70 objects per hectares. So even in the deep ocean you will find plastic. This concerns the seabed. At the sea surface you will find also different plastic, and this plastic is transported by the sea currents. Does it work? Yes, it should. So I will just show you here a small animation. So as you can imagine, the ocean is a extremely dynamic environment. So the currents are really strong. So for example, if you release a waste, let's say in Florida, with the effect of the Gulf Stream on different currents, it will travel in the oceans. Okay, it can reach the North Atlantic subtropical gyre, the Arctic. It can move in all regions. So it's extremely dynamic, and that's why you can find plastic in all regions. It is transported with the. Oops, sorry, this is something different. I think it's this. Oh. Give me just some minutes. Okay, and the concentrations. Yes, excuse me, just 1 minute. So, based on the sea currents, some scientists developed models to estimate where are the higher concentration of plastic. So you see here a map based on these models. In white you have the regions where you find more microplastic pollution, and in gray or black the regions with lower pollution. So for example, you can be also here in the middle of the North Atlantic. You will find strong concentration of plastic because they are transported with the currents. So these distributions depend mainly on the source. The regions with high density of population consuming a lot of plastic, such like southeast of Asia or in the Mediterranean Sea, and then the sea currents who will transport this plastic. Let's come back to the presentation. So, if you look also to the transport mechanism of this microplastic, they intervene at different scales of space and time. And this is also why it is so complex to understand where is all this microplastic pollution. For example, you have here large-scale ocean process, it's the sea currents, but you will have also the effect of the Stokes drift, so the wave also transport plastic. The effect of the windage, so the wind transport plastic. Different phenomena at smaller scales, like Langmuir circulations, and also transport by biology. We know today that the microplastic aggregates a lot with organic material, or that biofilms can develop on this microplastic, and they have they bring them on the seafloor generally. So this plastic, they don't degrade, but they fragment into smaller parts, what we call the microplastic. And of course, they have the size, they can take the size of the plankton that is at the basis of the food chain. The consequences of this pollution, of course, the first population impacted by this pollution is, of course, the fauna who lives in the marine ecosystems. So There are the problem of ingestion. Many birds eat this plastic, and they can die by eating this plastic. There are the problem of suffocation or strangulation, damage to habitats. It is also a way to spread invasive species because many organisms fix on these microplastics and they move with the sea currents. But maybe the strongest problem or question concerns the toxicological impacts of this microplastic. You can imagine if the plankton eats this microplastic, which is at the basis of the food chain, you can contaminate all the food chain. And we differentiate two effects, what we call the direct effect. So the microplastic, they have also additives on them, like flame retardants, phthalates, and so on. And this can be released into the organisms. Or they are also other pollutants absorber. You will find in the oceans other pollutants, like, for example, pesticides or so. And one part of them are hydrophobic, so they have tendency to fix on the plastic, and they can, so the plastic are a vector bringing other pollutants in the organism. And then you have other impacts for direct human activities, like aesthetical impacts with the plastic on the shore, impact on navigations, because of course you can have nets in the propellers or so on, impacts on fishing activities. And there is this open question, is there a link with the human health? Can we be impacted via the food chain? This is more an open question, I think, today. I give you now an example of a pollution study. This is probably the region where we have the more data concerning the surface plastic pollution. So in white you see the sea, in gray the US here, and here South America. And all of these points are a sample. The concentration of this different sample is going from 0 to 200,000 plastic pieces per square kilometers. And it allows to develop maps, as you see here, to know where is this plastic and also to evaluate the stock, how much plastic is where. And of course, this is important to evaluate the risk and the impacts of this pollution. On the other side, scientists are also working on the evaluation of the flow entering in the oceans. You see here a paper published by Jambeck in 2015. Janet Jambeck estimated that the total flow entering in the ocean is between 4 to 12 million tons per year. So let's say 10 millions, okay? To give you a comparison, a supertanker has a capacity of 300,000 tons. So here we talk about 10 millions of tons, so it's much more. And of course, the country will contribute to this global pollution in different way. Countries with higher population, of course, will have a higher impact. But what I want to show you with this, if you compare the data produced by the people working on the plastic flow entering in the ocean, so they estimate it at 10 million tons per year, and the plastic that the scientists working on the field, they measure at the sea surface, we estimate it around 215,000 tons. There is a huge gap. There is a huge gap. So one of the important questions that scientists are asking now is, where is all this plastic? Okay, we think that we measure at the sea surface maybe just some % of all the plastic that should be there. So the question is, where is it? So it's a real mystery. Some scientists call it the plastic mystery. So now just let's have a look on the issues related to plastic pollution. Plastic consumption started in the 1950s, so it's the generation of my grandparents, and it always increased in an exponential way. The growth rate is around 8% per year, so it's increasing really fast. Today, these data are from 2017, but today we are more than 400 million of tons of plastic produced every year. This is basically the weight of the humanity. So we produce every year the same weight than the weight of the humanity. And if you look the sector of consumption, a huge part, 40%, is used only for packaging. So there is this idea, okay, is there not a wasting here? Because packaging, of course, is a huge part of the waste that we produce. If we look to the different sectors of waste generating, packaging is around 60% of the waste that we produce. If we compare with building on consumption, on the consumption it's maybe 20%, but on the waste generation it's only 5% here. Because of course the houses are built for many years. Let's have now a look where is all the stock of plastic at really the global scale, all worldwide. So we have produced from the 1915 to 2015 8,300,000,000 tons. So the units are millions of tons. 2.5 billion of tons are in use. 600 million are in the recycling loop. Only 800 million have been incinerated, and around 5 billion of tons have been discarded. Okay, so it means that the biggest part of the plastic that we have generated are in landfills or in the environment. So that's absolutely frightening, I think. And if you look to the different countries, how they treat waste, so we can decompose the waste that we generated in the waste that we recycle, the waste that we burn. So many countries burn waste to generate heat, to use the heat to warm houses or to produce electricity. And the waste that we put on landfills. When we put it on landfills, we do not use the potential of the waste, of the plastic waste. So you see there is strong differences between, this is for Europe only, I found this number only for Europe, between the countries in the north where we use the plastic waste and the country of the south. So for me this means that it's not only, some people think that the plastic issue is maybe mainly a question of technology. Not only, it is a huge part, is also a political question, I think, because we know that we are able to treat this waste and to do something and to use its potential. And what is a bit frightening is also the future or the projections concerning this consumption. Peter Ryan is a well-known scientist from South Africa, and this is how he thinks that plastic consumption will evolve if we continue on the model business as usual. And this, it will increase really fast. Why? Because the global population on Earth is growing, and also the purchase income is growing. So it will increase really fast. So now let's have a look on some projects addressing plastic pollution. So I propose to look on 3 projects. We're in Marseille, so in France. So of course France is involved in the project of the European Commission. They have a project that is called the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. The goal is to maintain the good environmental status. We will see a bit later what is it exactly. There is another project from the G20. France, of course, is involved also. It is called the Osaka Ocean Blue Vision, and the goal here is extremely ambitious. It is to stop, to zero the flow entering into the ocean in 2050. And then, of course, there is the project of the IUCN, Close the Plastic Tap Program, and there are several goals, but the one who is really interesting for me is to produce reports or piece of work supporting policy on pragmatic action. And you will see the 3 have a bit the same approach. So let's have a look on the Marine Strategy Framework Directive. You see here the regions that is concerned by this project. So it is all the regions that are at 200 nautical miles from the European coast. And this project is based on a working loop. This working loop starts with a monitoring program. The goal is to know how much plastic we have in this water and how does it evolve over time. Based on this program, they want to define a program of measures, implement this measure, continue to monitor and to see after 6 years, it's a loop doing 6 years, do we change the initial assessment on the targets based on these indicators? So what is really important here is it is based on field data. If you look on the Osaka Ocean Blue Vision, so they signed the countries of the G20, they signed on the 29th of June 2019 a common vision where the goal is to reduce this plastic flow to zero by 2050, and there is also a monitoring aspect of this pollution. They want to base their measure on field indicators. And to do this, they want to use what we call the SDG 14.11, the floating plastic density. And the IUCN is also producing different reports for policy action. And some of them are based also on the evaluation of the stock, how much plastic is where, and also the plastic flow entering in the ocean. So it is also important here to have data to produce these different reports. So for us, our observation is the following. So several international organizations want to solve the problem in a pragmatic way. Okay, without slowing the development, the economic development. They want to legislate on the use of the plastic on the waste management with the use of factual data. This is really important for us, and by monitoring the evolution of this pollution. But to do this, we saw that the transport mechanisms are quite complex. We need a large amount of data over space and time, okay? The dilemma for us, we are a small association, it is clear that for us the question is, how can we contribute to this thematic with limited means in an efficient way? So this idea of efficiency is really important for us because our means are limited. So that's why we decided to build a citizen science project. The idea is to equip several ships with scientific tools to collect samples at sea, because of course one boat is not so efficient, but if you have several boats it's much more efficient. They collect the sample, they send us the samples, we analyze them in the lab, we produce the data, and we feed the database of the several international organizations with data. Okay? Maybe I will continue with this example here. You see here the different boats that are participating to our project. So today we have 9 boats. We have our own boats that is in Marseille today. You can see it at the museum if you want to visit us. But we have different boats, mainly Swiss and French sailors. They're all volunteers. So we trained them, we provided them tools to collect the samples, and they are doing this by an opportunistic way. So when they have time, when they have the possibility, they collect the sample. How does it work? So it is a tool, we call it the montage wall. You put it here on the side of the boat. It allows to filter the surface water. So all the microplastic that are at the sea surface, they go into this net. And at the end, you have a socket that you can remove for every sample. They can store them. They send this in our lab. In our lab, we analyze the sample, we produce the results, and you can see here the microplastic. So if... oops, sorry. I just want to show you our data today, what we could do with a citizen science project with really limited means. If you click on this. Comment je fais pour ouvrir le lien? 1 second, please. If you go on our website, on the cartography, you can see here all the data that we were able to produce by this way. So we obtained sample from from the 4 oceans, a lot from Mediterranean Sea. But of course, it took us time because a boat who did, for example, this trip here around the world, it took them 4 years to do the trip. So it's long-term projects, but it is a way to obtain this data with limited cost. If we go, for example, on the database of the United Nations Environment Programme, okay, and we look what they have concerning plastic pollution, you see here what they have from other data provider, and here what we produced. So, okay, it's mainly not the biggest part of all the data existing, but it is also a significant contribution. So this was about this project. Of course, we have also other projects. We're doing awareness raising, mainly in Switzerland, in the schools. We give conference. We communicate also a lot with the press and the media, mainly in Switzerland. We did also some projects concerning the pollution in Lake Geneva. You see here the different samples that we took, and we compared this with the oceans. So you see here the average concentration in Lake Geneva. It is less polluted than the Mediterranean Sea here in green, but we proved that the Lake of Geneva has a pollution as high than the average of the ocean, or here the North Atlantic. We are doing also our own expedition to feed our own map. The goal is also to give to our members the possibility to embark. We will start our next expedition here from Marseille in some days. And there is also the possibility for you to visit us on our stand. Our stand is on L17. You can see there microplastic. Our boat is also here at the Congress, at the museum. We propose also to people who are interested to see how we collect these samples. You can do a 2-hour trip from the Vieux-Port. So the next departures are today, this afternoon at 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. and tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. You can sign up at this link, or please, if you're interested, have a talk with Lauriane. She's just there. She can help you to do the sign up. Of course, we look also for support, so please have a look on our Facebook or Instagram, on our website, or more if you're interested. Thank you for your attention, and let's open the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that inspiring presentation and really bringing it to the point what the problem are we have out there. And it's nice to see that small organizations like you can really make things or can get those data together. We are actually also Swiss-based for a Shark project and would love to work together with you. But my question really is, and I was a bit shocked to see that vision of like 0 emission by 2050 into the ocean. Is this going to be good enough? And I know, I mean, this is beyond your scope, but that's what I'm asking myself all the time. The horizon we are having for all of these actions with 2050 and beyond, is that not going to be much too late? I mean, you showed the data, how bad it already is, and the big unknown. Don't we have to take action quicker? And I know this is more of theoretical discussion, but I think it's really a discussion we need to get started on. Thank you very much.
Yes, of course. When we see this curve on the projection of plastic consumption, but I think also to keep it go down to 0 by 2050, you cannot change everything in 5 years or 10 years. So I agree that I would prefer that this happens earlier, but I don't know really what to answer to these questions, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, thank you.
I think it was also more a question to all of us, really, like, are we happy with such objectives? And personally, I'm not. I think we need bolder actions to happen. And there are ways. It's not easy, but it is doable. But of course, it will have an impact. But if we don't start, then I don't really see that happening. But thanks a lot for all these data.
Thank you for your remark. I think there is a question here.
Hi, Pascal. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for also being a partner of IUCN. I have an annoying question for you. It's about statistics. So let's suppose that from all the plastic that is produced worldwide, we are aiming at 10% for single-use plastic. All the rest goes for other applications. Now, if you understand that the bulk of plastic that has ever been used was incinerated, landfilled, or it's in the environment, and you're talking about 90% of plastic is out there and is not being used, well, in this case, it makes that actually 90% of plastic is single-use plastic. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry, the sound was not really good.
I can repeat the question.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
So in terms of production, let's say that annually all the plastic that is produced, let's assume 10% is single-use plastic, which, let's say, by far is the most damaging one for the environment, for whatever, in terms of impacts. But if the bulk of plastic that is still out there in landfills that were incinerated or being exported to be recycled, whatever it is still out there, and whenever we say, oh, only 10% of plastic was effectively recycled, this means that 90% of plastic is actually single-use plastic. Do you understand the question? Because I go very fast from the 10% that is produced annually to be single-use plastic, but if you understand that it was only used once, and 90% is still out there not being used, so the bulk of it is actually single-use plastic.
Sorry, the sound, I think it's mon appareil qui est pas très bon. Lauriane, did you heard well the question? Could you just tell me, thank you, en français?
En gros, sachant que 90%, ou plutôt sa question, c'est...
Un peu plus près, Lauriane.
Là, c'est mieux? Est-ce que là, ça va?
Ouais, ça va un peu mieux, merci.
D'accord. Donc, sachant que 10% est recyclé et que l'autre partie est incinérée, donc pas réutilisée, est-ce qu'on peut considérer que le gros du plastique, à 90%, est de l'usage unique?
Est-ce qu'on peut considérer que 10% est recyclé, le reste est incinéré et...
Est-ce qu'on peut considérer que tout ce qui est incinéré, finalement, c'est de l'usage unique et donc que ça représente le gros du plastique?
J'ai pas compris. La question est de savoir si... En fait, j'entends rien.
Je pose la question après. Je pose la question après la présentation, okay. Directement.
Ok, but ok. Ouais, j'ai augmenté le volume parce que j'entendais rien.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions? Any other question?
Yes, there is one, Lauriane.
I'm from India. I would like to know if there is any way we can, as a citizen, common citizen, do anything on our part to reduce plastics that we deposit in the ocean, because I'm guessing we contribute a significant amount to the global pollution plastic produced. If countries with effective waste management systems such as Europe are having it hard, India stands no way. So I would like to know if you would collaborate with Indian organizations in the future to take the burden of the global plastic production?
We are always open to collaboration, but we are doing mainly or exclusively plastic monitoring at sea.
Okay.
I don't know if this is interesting for the
Okay.
Indian scientists. Probably. For the moment, we have limited data from the Indian Oceans because we are from Europe, so of course it's really far for the Swiss and the French sailors.
Okay.
But there could be also possibility to equip, for example, Indian boats with these systems. This would be really interesting, I think. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes. You're really interested in this. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
To give a bigger picture.
Yes, exact. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can discuss after the talk too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. Just curious, in the future, where do you see the potential of mobilizing a large spectrum of the civilian fleet that's out there in the oceans already? There's a great project out there called Yachts for Science, which is focused at very high-end sort of craft. But I was wondering, if you could click your fingers and mobilize a large group of the civilian population, what would you go for? Would you go for fishing or pleasure craft, or what would that look like?
I think it's a question of motivation of the people participating to this project. We are contacted only by sailors, so maybe because or sometimes also by people organizing sailing races. But it's not really compatible with sailing races because you need to take a sample at 3 knots, it's really slow and so on, and when you race it, you have other objectives. I think to monitor offshore this pollution, yes, the sailors, because they have time. Most of the time it's people sailing for long trips, and they are motivated to do something for the seas because they live on. We see the same, for example, with the Surfrider Foundation for the beaches because it's surfers. The fishermen, I don't know. Maybe it could. I think there are some projects. I think with at the European Commissions, but they motivate them with financial returns. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm from Panama, and we were talking about plastics. Like all of us are scared about what's happening in the ocean. My question is if your procedure to collect data has to be shared with other volunteers, so we could try to do something in our locals, in our countries. We are trying to do, a collection of microplastic from Costa Rica to Panama, pass through Panama Canal, so we can get, samples from the Caribbean and the Pacific.
Yeah.
So later we could talk about what we are gonna do, and if the data that we will collect, we will share with you.
Yeah, it would be a pleasure because we are also interested to equip boats to obtain samples to produce our own data, but it's also possible to share data directly if you have your own data. And as we provide also international organization, it's also a possibility to provide this data with ours. Yeah, this. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe I can just follow on what Peter said, because I think this is a really important comment. If you could somehow include fishermen, and obviously the big fishing fleet, you would have to bribe with financial incentives, but maybe like smaller artisanal fisheries, because they go to areas where the sailors don't go.
Yeah.
So in order to get a complete mapping,
Yeah.
I think this is really data you would want to have.
Yeah.
Just as a comment.
Yeah, it's a good comment. Well, another point that I want to mention, for us today, the main difficulty is not to find boats, because we have many sailors contacting us with boats. For us, the bottleneck is the treatment of the samples, because it's a long work to analyze the samples, and we look for ways to be also more efficient in the lab, to have the possibility to process this. We don't want to equip boats and not be able to analyze the samples, because this work would be for nothing. Yeah.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry.
Okay, so thank you for your attention.
Wait.
There is another question, yeah?
To continue about this question, do you think it's possible to maybe organize like kind of formation to make possible to other people maybe to participate in the analysis of that kind of data?
Yes, this could be possible, yes. Well, basically what is needed, you need a boat, a tool to collect the samples, and a small lab to analyze the microplastics. And it's not so complicated, because we work on bigger microplastics, so we don't work on the small microplastics, so you just need water, binocular, and a balance of high precision, but it's not so expensive. So I think for a small association or NGO, it is possible to do it. And it's true, this would be a way also to scale up if you have other organizations developing the same project on this model. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just a correction, he meant microscope and not binoculars. Not exactly the same tool, but just to correct if needed.
Thanks for the correction. It's in French, on the binocular.
Any other question?
Hi everybody. So I'm sorry for my English. If I understand, if I'm a seller and I have a boat, I could participate to this project?
Exact.
Okay.
There are some conditions because you have to buy the tool to collect the samples. This is the main aspect that limits the boat. At the beginning of our project, we proposed yes, we were providing the tool, but we had many problems. So because some people were extremely motivated, but they never came back. We lost the tool or so on. So now we decided to sell them. This is the main limitation. And after our experience is also that if you sail for a 2-week trip or 1-month trip, it's not really useful. It's more for projects over several months or years.
All right. I'm sorry, I came very late, but you say that you do science, citizen science, and
yeah.
What you do really about that?
So the citizen science project is this. It's if you prefer a sailor science project. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Any other question? We still have time, plenty of time. Or would anyone would like to ask a question in French?
Okay, so thank you for your attention, and please come visit us on our stand. We are open to continue the discussion. Thank you.
And if you